I started an e-design business and it was a disaster until I did these things. I'm Jo Kroback, I'm an architect, I'm an interior designer and a mentor to interior design startups. And in today's video, I'm going to show you what you need to do in an e-design business to make it a success. So let's start with the first thing. And with e-design, you need to set boundaries. I know this kind of sounds obvious with any service, but with e-design, it's not fluid. In order to have an e-design service succeed, it needs to set boundaries. When I started my interior design business, the first 300 clients I had were e-design clients. And I was going through these projects so quickly, but there were a few that dragged on forever because I hadn't set those really clear boundaries. And what do I mean by those boundaries? Well, you need clarity around what's included. You need clarity around when the end date is, when you're going to get paid. And one of the biggest mistakes I made was getting paid at the end, which an e-design project never ends. So never set an end date. So predominantly getting paid up front was a big deal. So you need to set very clear boundaries around what you include in these services. And, you know, predominantly they're concept services. So if you know the system of how to run a project properly, well, you design, it's the pre-design stage, concept design, then you've got detail design, technical design, implementation or construction, depending on what kind of project it is, and then styling or white glove kind of installation. So that kind of system is the same system for anyone. Like, this is how you run a project, because you can't source without having a concept. You can't just start at the end and jump around. You start at the beginning, you have a contract and a brief, so all the pre-design stuff, and then you have your concept. You always start with the concept because you need your client to sign that off before you do any implementation of any sort or any other future detailing. You can't start with the detail. You've got to start with the big idea. And so because of that, setting the boundaries around what it is that you're including in this service can vary, because your skills will vary. My skills vary, and so actually do all of the skills of my mentees. And when they provide a specific service, we tailor it to them and their specific wants in terms of how they want to work. So if someone only wants to work weekends or only wants to work Fridays, we can tailor a service that only does that. But you need to put those boundaries in place and understand what your boundaries are around that. Because I used to be able to work on Sundays. I've found that not an issue. But now with a child, I don't want to work Sundays. And so that is a boundary I put in place at a particular time. But at the beginning, I worked 7 days a week, 7 nights a week, because I was really excited about the projects I was like one of those designers who was endlessly creative. Now as a mum, I'm exhausted. So I don't have that kind of energy. And I take on different types of projects. So number one is set boundaries. Next is you still need to create a niche service. This is absolutely critical. And I get pushback on this quite often, because no one actually realizes what niches are in interior design, because a lot of people who listen to coaches who are in interior design, or who are coaching interior designers, haven't been in the industry long enough or haven't had hundreds of clients to see the visible differences in these clients. Whereas after having now literally hundreds and hundreds of projects under my belt, I can clearly see the different niches of what people can provide and what kind of clients there are in our industry. And you need to be the kind of person that still sells and positions yourself in a particular way, because no one this is the problem. When somebody can compare you with somebody else, you don't have a strong enough niche. So if you have, for example, you're looking at 2 different plumbers. So if one plumber doesn't stand out from the other, you can just compare the plumbers based on price. But if you have one interior designer that speaks right to you, or to their client, and that client says, yeah, this person gets me. They really understand what I'm looking for, because they're not just offering a generic e-design service saying, oh, you get 2 mood boards and a sourcing list. Great. Well, how much? Clients don't know how long that takes. They look at potentially some previous projects and think, well, I like their style. That might be a niche enough, but you've got to have a very strong style. What was that lady's name? The Jungalo? I've forgotten her name specifically, but she had a very, very strong niche. And obviously, that was very obvious. So you need to stand out that much. You need to be that different from anyone else so that people see the value in choosing you over somebody else without comparing apples for apples or price for price. So that is how you can, you need to separate your niche. So what else? The next thing I did was I packaged the price. And I know this is a controversial one because most people get burnt with packaging prices, and I did too. But the trick with selling e-design is to have a packaged price. That's because the type of client who buys an e-design services is driven by money. And if you're the type of designer who wants to work with luxury clients, then e-design is not for you. So I think that's really, really important to know. If you're somebody who, no matter what, is somebody who's obsessed with the detail, somebody who absolutely cares about those little things that make a difference in a design that you can see that most people can't see, e-design is not for you, because you need to be part of the implementation. You need to be part of the sourcing. You need to be part of the end result styling to get it absolutely perfect. That is not e-design. With e-design, you need to let go of the control of the project. It's just the mental component of it. There's a certain amount of, there's design, then there's technical design. You can even do sourcing via e-design. Which I did do, but implementation, no. So there's only a certain type of service that you can offer without being physically in the property. So, and that is why we can package what it is that we're offering for a specific price. And those clients who want it, they can't afford somebody who looks at all the details. They can't afford you. So if that is you, e-design is not for you. And you've got to accept that and think, well, I can just choose a different service, which is absolutely fine. I do this all the time with my mentees. Like if they are somebody who just is a detail person, then we create a service that is not e-design, but is still, like a stepping stone to their larger full service. So packaging the price is critical. So what have we got? I needed to set boundaries. This is why it was a disaster until I did all these things. I set boundaries. Until I created a niche, and then I packaged the price. Next is I understood how to market the service and actually get clients, which I think is really overlooked, because you can do everything else perfectly and you can be the world's best kept secret until you know how to market yourself, until you know how to find the people who are going to buy that thing from you and get yourself in front of them. You're not going to make a sale. So until I understood marketing, and this is, I think it was 2012 when I started e-designing, but it wasn't until really 2015, 2016 when things really started to take off. And that was because I learned how to market. I know it seemed like and this happens with a lot of my mentees, putting out one post on social media is not marketing. And so many people find such a huge effort in doing that one thing that they believe they're doing so much. So in their mind, because it took so much effort to create that one post, they believe that they're really marketing and doing a lot of marketing. But that's nothing. It's not even a drop in the ocean these days. So, and that's how insignificant that is, which, you can get lucky. And I know a lot of people who, put one post on Instagram and, made, gained hundreds and thousands of followers. But again, it doesn't mean that converts to money. You still need to be finding the exact right people who are going to buy your service, who you're right for, and create that service for them. And with e-design, that is somebody who wants to have a packaged price because they need to know the boundaries of what they're getting and what it is that you're offering, and how much it's going to cost, because they're the type of people who buy e-design services. They care about how much it costs. Not as much. They also care about the end result, but not as much. The money is the bigger driver, unlike a luxury client where money doesn't even come into it. It's almost offensive to talk about it, and you'll see the difference in those types of clients. So the next thing I did was increase the price. And I think I've said this in another video where when I first started my e-design services, and I worked with hundreds and hundreds at the beginning of my interior design business, I was starting to offer my design services at $250. That was the minimum I could offer any service for, and it was very low. But after I had done hundreds and hundreds, I was, after a few, I kept on raising the price and raising the price and raising the price. And I realized that there is an upper limit that e-designers or e-design type of clients will pay, but I managed to find the sweet spot between what I needed to earn, what my clients really needed, and then how much they would pay for that. So I kept on increasing the price to a point where I didn't even want to take on clients anymore, because I was already I had much larger projects at this point. And because I was attracting e-design services still, because I had done so many and there were so many by this point referrals, I just was starting to say no. So I just kept on increasing and increasing to the point where I almost felt guilty for taking on clients for a price that I didn't even, I felt it was too easy. And so the thing is, in order to make your e-design service a profitable service, so if you're going to be in business, it needs to be profitable. You need to increase the price of your e-design. And I know this sounds really difficult, because the thing that most clients, this is again like this chicken and egg scenario, is that most clients care about price. And that's true, especially when it comes to e-design clients. But if you package it right, and if you have the perfect niche, so no one can pair you with other people, and you know your people inside out, then market it to the right people. You've got a winning combination. So yes, you can offer it for $100 or pounds for an e-design service, but you can, like I did, also offer it for $3,000 or even $5,000. I've offered even some for $10,000. So you've got to see what your people want, and then what your people will pay, and then what are you willing to do, and we kind of balance that. So that's what I do in my mentorship service. I provide, like, whatever kind of interior designer you want to be, I can help you kind of create the right services for you with all of your skills. If you don't have the skills that are missing to be, for example, that type of specific designer, I can help you with those skills, because there's not that many that most people need that you can't be learnt within a few weeks. So, and I know that sounds a little obnoxious, but it's true, because when you have a good teacher that knows exactly what it is you need, it's not that hard. So, and it can be we can speed up the trajectory of your success just by, having a look with a bit of a magnifying glass at what it is that you want, and what it is that we can create that those people are willing to buy. And then it's a match made in heaven with all of the other things. So I reveal all of these juicy details about all of these hundreds of projects I've had in my mentorship program. So if you are somebody who wants to see hundreds of examples of e-design services, how I ran them, all the mistakes I made, all of the great photos I got, and also not so great photos I got, all of that juicy detail, have a look at our mentorship program.